Coming up this weekend in our first of two Ultimate Fighter 30 finales, somebody's going to win a tournament championship, and both of these fighters, the number 2 overall pick by their respective coaches on the season. We have Team Nunes's Brogan Walker, Brogy the Bear, taking on Killer, hate the nickname, Juliana Miller from Team Pena. And if you do look at it for these two women on the season, lots of trials, lots of tribulations. For Miller, I mean, listen, I didn't know what to expect out of her. Now, I say both these women have a lot of experience. It's different kinds of experience. For Walker, 7-2 in MMA. She had 5 fights over with Invicta, a win over Miranda Maverick in 2018. You look at the losses that she does have on her record. 1 to Pearl Gonzalez of UFC fame. 1 to Erin Blanchfield, future to be UFC fame. And then the last win is, of course, over Emily King by finish. Emily King from Knoxville Mixed Martial Arts with her husband Jason. Always fun to talk about that camp. Ovin St. Preux comes from that gym. But when you look at it for Brogan Walker, very much a striker. Tricky southpaw. Throws a lot of power on the end of her hooks that she likes to throw. A good pawing jab. The occasional leg kick from the left stance, but you don't often see her deviate out of southpaw. And when things are in the pocket, Matt, she can really crack in her fights.
She definitely can, and like you said, she has great hand speed, really good power too on the feet. The only thing that I don't love about her game, and you kind of did it while you were making the motion, she almost puts her head up when she's throwing her own power shots. Now, against, regional levels of competition or fighters on The Ultimate Fighter, you're going to be able to get away with that. But that is one of those holes that you do worry about when she makes it to the UFC level, or if she's able to make it to the UFC level, because where she has her most success is also where she might be the most susceptible to getting hit, and that is an interesting area for a fighter to be in. It's like being Marco Polo Reyes. The brawls are great when you're winning them, but the brawls are also bad when you're losing them. So I'll be really interested to see how Walker's technique's going to translate at the next level. But this is the biggest thing that stood out to me, and I can't help but mention this.
Is it that Juliana Miller looks like a grappler striking?
Is she the biggest fighter in this weight division's history?
I mean, listen, you see it numbers on a page, the reach is equal and she's 2 inches taller.
She's
feels so big.
5'7" on Tapology does not do this woman justice.
You know who Juliana Miller reminds me of?
I'd love to hear.
Christina Williams, the Warhorse. She's so damn big at 125. Now, for Christina Williams, kickboxing, the discipline, and if you're not a Bellator fan, she had a lot of fun fights over there in the time. But when I look at Juliana Miller, for Brogan Walker, all the success, everything. It's in MMA. She's fought big names. She's fought with Invicta. For Juliana Miller, a lot of grappling, and she went 6-0 as an amateur from 2017 to 2018. Tons and tons of grappling tournaments and championships. She's from 10th Planet, San Diego. 10th Planet, another 125er that trains there.
Alimale
McFarlane, former Bellator champ. But when you look at it for Juliana Miller, and I say it not jokingly, she very much is a grappler striking. She walks forward, plods forward, Nosferatu, throws a lot of arm punches, keeps her head out on the center line, doesn't really move it a lot. Throws a decent kick to close the distance.
She does.
Likes to clinch. Not really great at her takedowns, but the takedown I like out of Juliana Miller is I got the body locked and I trip and I fall on top of my opponent. That's how she was able to end up in a Kimura position, which I thought she was going armbar in that fight, and then all of a sudden she's twisting the arm as she's got the legs around it. So what I learned out of The Ultimate Fighter is that, again, for Brogan Walker, her first fight, it was kind of what it was, I guess, and I hate to say that, but against Hannah Guy, wins a majority decision, drops her in the first round, has a decent second round, but didn't she get her back taken for a large portion of that one? Then she takes on Laura Gallardo, who wasn't even supposed to be on the season. She replaced, and I want to make sure I get it right, Chantel Coates. Coates missed weight early on in the season, the first fight of the season, so in steps Gallardo. Fight starts off all right. Like, I thought Gallardo won the first round, and then I had Walker winning the second round, and then the third round was kind of a toss-up, and so it ends up a Brogan Walker win. I didn't really learn a whole lot about Brogan Walker on the season of The Ultimate Fighter that I didn't know about her kind of going into it. She's a seasoned veteran. She's 33 years old. She's from Guam. She likes to strike. Submission defense is okay. Takedown defense isn't the best.
She just feels like she's always in the same gear. You know, like there's never any urgency to her fighting style. There's never any, oh, I feel really uncomfortable right now. She's just sort of who she is at this stage of her career, and that will be the interesting thing. If you're the Ultimate Fighter winner at 33 years of age, how much more improvement can you make in the UFC? Because you are going to start running out of time.
Oh, you're going to really like the heavyweights. 33 and 34 years old.
Don't worry, I've got a whole thing on that too. It's just, that's the interesting spot that this show is at right now. Because everybody likes Contender Series. It's fun. You get a bunch of fights. You don't get get any drama. You know, what people like in MMA. And The Ultimate Fighter is sort of the opposite of that exact formula. It is interesting how, on this card that's supposed to highlight the winners of The Ultimate Fighter, it's being headlined by a Contender Series champion, and the co-main event one half is from the Contender Series. It just feels like they're not really promoting The Ultimate Fighter to its
Bryan
fullest
Battle's
effect.
here on the prelims.
Exactly, but that's the problem. It just really feels like at the top of the card, they're like, hey, these guys are from Contender Series. Look how good Contender Series is. Oh, and by the way, before they fight, check out The Ultimate Fighter Season 30.
But where was The Ultimate Fighter? Oh, it's on ESPN Plus and Fight Pass. Go find it.
It's just, you had brought up earlier about how weird this whole card was. How normally, hey, you have the Ultimate Fighter card on like a Thursday or a Friday. You have a big pay-per-view on the Saturday. That's normally how it's scheduled for a big international fight week. It was strange that the coaches fought before the championship and that they're not using this card more to just promote the Ultimate Fighter as a show.
So if you do watch Miller's fights on the season, of course, again, she was the second overall pick on Team Pena. In her first fight, it's against Claire Guthrie in the first round. All Guthrie. And I mean, they went back and forth, but again, when you watch Juliana Miller fight, it very much is 1-2-1. She does throw a nice jab, and she'll triple up, throw 4-5 jabs in a row to close the distance, but Guthrie did a good job moving out of the range. In the second round, it really was Miller kind of holding things up, and then ultimately it ends up as a decision win for Juliana Miller. Her next one out against Caitlin Neal, beats her by Kimura. It very much was. Neal is a kickboxer, and Miller is a grappler. But when you look at this one, I've even seen on Twitter a lot of support for Juliana Miller. 2-1 the record. Obviously, it doesn't really tell the whole story because she does have such a grappling pedigree, and the fact that she did have a 6-0 amateur career. But again, it's a hard fight to try and predict because the whole season, every fight I watched in The Ultimate Fighter this year, other than the knockouts, were really, really close fights.
They were.
Like, really close
Somewhat
fights.
underwhelming.
So it is tough, but again, I look at this one. Brogan Walker is a better striker, but she can get backed up, and Juliana Miller throws a lot down the middle, but can get hit by hooks. Like, see, it's very hard to try and get one.
Juliana Miller's like Chet Holmgren, and Brogan Walker is like Paulo Banchero. Might be a little bit better right now, but I do feel like Juliana Miller does have the higher ceiling. You're right, she is wonky, but there's something to like about the wonkiness. It is hard to read. She does have very high-level grappling background, so I do feel like Miller, if she is able to make it into the UFC, might be able to make some noise when she's able to get there. A, because she is much younger, so hopefully she'll have more time to improve, but B, I just feel like her game has more that she's going to be able to build upon it, but that's the thing. Paulo might be better than Chet right away, and if she can open up with her boxing combinations, I can see this fight almost looking a lot like Cowboy Cerrone versus Eddie Alvarez. A bit of a deep cut, but still. Cowboy Cerrone is someone who stands very high up with his stance. He likes the clinch, he likes throwing knees up the middle. I know he used the clinch a lot more offensively with his striking than Miller probably will with some takedown attempts, but still, I do think that's going to be a position that both these fighters find themselves in a lot during this fight. And if Walker can fight, almost like Eddie Alvarez did in the clinch against Cowboy, I know he lost the fight, but still, dirty box, make that separation really count, make the non-separation really count. So I think Walker can have a really good chance to win this fight, but again, I still feel like Miller is the more eye-catching talent. If either one of these fighters ever go on to make the top 15, there's other fighters like Brogan Walker in the UFC. I think we can say that easily. There's not a lot of fighters, though, who fight in Juliana Miller's style, and I guess that's why I'm still a little bit more curious about what she can become in the future.
She kind of reminds me of Sabina Mazo if you turn down the skills on the feet and you turn up the skills on the ground. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you make that decision. But you look at the odds in this one, Walker open to -160, plus 110. So some value there if you like her already, and maybe you like her as the underdog. For Juliana Miller, I guess the opposite can be said. Open a plus 190, a -133 or thereabouts. You have a look at the Tapology votes, Matt. They're surprised to us, they are to you. They really are. This is a hard one. So Brogan Walker has experience. Open the favorite. I'm going to say Miller's been the favorite on Twitter. Over under 65% Miller.
Lower.
You're going to say lower? Slightly. Oh, yeah. Walker's the favorite. 953 total votes. 68% with Walker. 89% by decision. For the 32% that have Miller, 75% by decision. So a lot of people thinking this one's going to go 3 rounds. Both these women have obviously gone 3 rounds in the past. Matt, what's a pick?
Brogan Walker reminds me of a machete, whereas Juliana Miller reminds me of a Swiss Army knife. Machete's really good at one thing, but boy is it good at that one thing. Whereas for Miller, she's that multi-use tool, you know? She can cut a tree down, take a long time, I guess, with a Swiss Army knife, but you can probably do it. She can uncork a wine bottle. There's other things that you can do if you're Juliana Miller. The thing is, though, I do think Walker's going to be able to make her pay for some of those power shots in the feet, where Miller, unless she is able to get the finish, I think it's going to be really hard for her to win moments in this fight. Again, her jab's good, but I don't know if there's anything or enough behind it to really get Brogan's respect other than that prodding jab, so I'm ever so slightly going to pick Walker, but I think this will be a fun fight.
To me, I like Juliana Miller in this matchup. I think she throws more volume than Brogan Walker, and that's the thing. Walker does this great thing when you walk in on her. She does tend to throw a lot of really good counters. Like you said, she will throw a flurry of hooks, and when she lands, you're dropping Hannah Guy. But the flip side of that is you drop Hannah Guy in the first round, she's still there in the second round, and then you have your back taken for minutes on end in the round. For Juliana Miller, the takedown attempts, they're not traditional. That could ultimately help her in a matchup like this. It's easier to get a body lock trip takedown against somebody that's closer to your own height. And when it comes to this matchup, she does have a bit of a height advantage, but I like Juliana Miller. I like Swiss Army knife fighters more often than I do the one that has that one punch knock him out, drag him out style. And for Brogan Walker, she has that knockdown against Guy that I did like in that fight, but she's not a big power puncher, and she does have a lot of wins by decision, which is easier said than done.
She's the more heavy-handed, though, without a doubt.
That's 100%. And for Juliana Miller, like I said, she very much is a grappler who strikes. So we'll see how it pans out. The Ultimate Fighter Season 30 Women's Flyweight Tournament Championship. That's a mouthful. On the line, Matt going with Brogan Walker. And I've got Juliana Miller to get the win. Change the nickname when you win. Just go like Ultimate Fighter winner Miller.
You were fine with Pantoja being the cannibal. Why do you dislike Killer Miller?
I mean, listen, he doesn't have to do it to eat it, you know? It's different.
She's not a killer, she's just a Miller.
Well, that's the nickname. I don't know. I'm a stickler for nicknames, but where we disagree on the pick, we have the heavyweight finale between Zach Pauga taking on Muhammad Usman, former Arizona football player. And then in the co-main, Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal, main event, Thiago Santos taking on Jamal Hill. You're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.